There's an invisible enemy threatening our clean energy future. And no, it's not some supervillain or a massive grid failure. It's something way more common, and it's quietly robbing power from millions of solar panels all over the world.
Take a look at this. That layer of grime? That's the problem. It's called soiling. And while it might not look like much, when you spread that across a gigantic solar farm, it adds up to a huge loss of energy. We're talking billions of dollars lost and a real slowdown in our race to build a cleaner planet.
But here's the tricky part. This isn't just one problem. Nope, it's a whole mix of different things, from massive sheets of dust to these tiny, corrosive little spots. And actually finding all of them, well, that's a surprisingly tough job.
And this is a big deal because solar power is growing at an absolutely insane rate. Right now, global solar capacity is actually on track to blow past coal, becoming the biggest source of power on the planet. I mean, how cool is that? But it also means that squeezing every last drop of efficiency out of every single panel is more important than ever before.
So, let's get on the same page. What exactly is soiling? Well, it's the official term for all this gunk. Dust, dirt, pollen, and yep, even bird droppings. Basically, it's anything that gets in the way and stops sunlight from hitting those solar cells. It's a never-ending fight against grime.
So just how bad can it get? Well, get this. In the worst-case scenarios, studies show that soiling can cut a panel's power output by over 30%. 30! Just try to wrap your head around that. It's like shutting down nearly a third of your power plant just because it needs a good wash. That's the scale of the problem we're up against. Okay, but it gets even trickier. You can't just treat all this dirt the same way. See, different kinds of soiling need different cleaning methods, and some are way more damaging than others.
In this slide right here really breaks it down. On the one hand, you've got dust. Think of it like a thin film that just kind of dims the lights across the whole panel. It's a pain for sure, but you can usually just blast it off with water. But then you have bird droppings. Oh boy. These things are a whole different story. They create these tiny, super concentrated hotspots that can actually overheat and permanently wreck the panel. They're like tiny, destructive little magnifying glasses.
And that brings us to the big question, right? If you want to clean things efficiently, you need to know what you're cleaning and where it is. But how on earth do you spot a huge patch of dust and a tiny little corrosive bird dropping from a drone flying hundreds of feet in the air?
Well, the answer, it turns out, is to team up. You combine the bird's eye view of a drone with the super sharp, analytical brain of artificial intelligence. It's a really high-tech fix for a very down-to-earth problem.
So, meet the eye in the sky. This is a heavy-duty industrial drone, the DJI Matrice 300, and it's carrying an incredibly high-resolution camera. It flies over these huge solar farms, snapping these super detailed pictures that basically become the eyes for the whole AI system.
But just snapping pictures isn't going to cut it. The real genius here is in the process. They use this really clever two-step approach. First, you find the panels, and then, and only then, do you look for the dirt. That way, the AI doesn't get distracted by, grass or rocks or anything else in the picture.
This diagram pretty much lays out the whole game plan. Simple, right? The drone grabs the images, then, step 1, a program digitally cuts out every single solar panel from the background. And finally, step 2, the AI is unleashed to scan each of those panels one by one for any dirt. Let's dig into that a little more. First, there's an algorithm called a canny edge detector. It's basically like a super smart digital pencil that traces the outline of every panel. Then, the system uses those outlines to digitally cookie-cut each panel out, getting rid of all the distracting background stuff. And finally, the star of the show, a special AI model called SDS YOLO, gets to work, hunting for dust and bird droppings on those clean images.
And you can see it right here in action. Look on the left. The edge detector perfectly finds the straight, clean lines of the panels and just ignores everything else. And on the right, that's the result. Perfectly isolated panels, all prepped and ready for the AI to inspect. It's a really important cleanup step that makes the AI's job so much easier.
All right, now we're getting to the really cool part. The secret sauce, if you will. See, a normal, off-the-shelf AI would really struggle with this. To get it to work, the researchers had to give their AI a special power, the ability to focus.
It's called a Convolutional Block Attention Module, or CBAM for short. Honestly, the best way to think about it is like giving the AI super focused vision. It teaches the model how to look at an image and decide for itself. Okay, these pixels are important for finding dust, and wait, these pixels over here are important for finding bird droppings. It learns to amp up the important stuff and tune out all the background noise.
And when you look at how the model is built, it all starts to make sense. Imagine the AI has two different experts working for it, two detection heads. One expert is a pro at spotting big, blurry patches of dust. The other one? It's got the eyes of a hawk, trained to find those teeny tiny, hard-to-see bird droppings. And that C-band module, that super focused vision we were just talking about, it acts like a supervisor, making sure both experts are looking in exactly the right places.
So, the big question, does all this fancy engineering actually work in the real world? Oh, yeah. The results aren't just a little better, they are a massive, massive step up.
Let's look at the numbers, because they don't lie. We're using a standard score called MAP50. Just know that higher is better. For dust, the new model SDS YOLO gets a pretty nice bump in performance. But look at bird droppings. That was the really hard one, remember? The score jumps from less than 0.5 all the way up to nearly 0.7. That is a gigantic improvement.
Let's just put that key number on a big chart so you can see what I'm talking about. A 40.2% increase in accuracy for the most difficult and the most damaging kind of dirt. This isn't just a small improvement, it's a game changer for the AI's ability to see things that we would totally miss.
And here it is. The proof is in the picture. On the left, that's the standard basic AI. It sees the obvious dust, sure, but look at all the little bird droppings it completely misses. Now look at the image on the right. That's our new model, SDS YOLO, with its super focused vision. It catches every single one. That's the difference between doing an okay job and doing a perfect one.
So what does this all mean in the real world? Well, it's huge. This technology helps us get the absolute maximum amount of energy from the sun. It gets rid of slow, expensive, and sometimes dangerous manual inspections. It means you can do targeted cleaning. Why wash a whole field of panels if only 10% are dirty? This saves money, it protects the panels from damage, makes them last longer, and at the end of the day, it helps speed up our switch to a clean energy future.
So, we just saw an AI give a drone the power to see a tiny little speck from hundreds of feet in the air. It really makes you wonder, right? What other critical details are out there, totally invisible to our own eyes, just waiting for the right kind of AI to bring them into focus?